Kidding.
Alright, it's started.
Eh, eh,
Oh, I got the
eh,
notification on my
eh.
phone. Would you look at that?
Could be really good. I'm gonna
Did you join
go
my game?
to our book face. Oh no.
Dude.
Are
Bro,
you in a game?
join my squad. Well, no, I'm not in the game. I'm on the main menu.
I haven't even looked at the challenges yet.
I didn't even
I
get
don't
a
remember how to
daily.
navigate this game.
Enhance. Enhance. Ugh.
Ugh.
Ugh. Let's just do an hour of that.
We'll probably get the most views we've ever had.
Just yelling at each other. Screeches. Chad's on that.
Oh, everybody be cool.
Well.
I'll give him the old
Good evening, officer. Alright.
the old evitation.
The big invite.
He's playing Overwatch.
What? Dude, we're not playing
Chadwick.
Overwatch. He's probably confused.
Far Cry comes this month too.
Yeah, I don't know. I haven't really seen too much.
Ooh, the newest trailer was Gerber. I wasn't stoked for it, and then the newest trailer.
Is the new
Like,
trailer
alright,
just
alright.
people getting run over? That's what you like? That's all I remember about it. I think that's the only time we played is you just ran me over.
Remember, I sent you a text. Me scoping in on your head.
Oh yeah, wait, that's not true. Didn't we try to fly off the map once for like 4
Yeah,
hours?
we flew for like a year.
That was pretty fun actually.
We just didn't play it. Like we played Dead Island, so it was maximum fun. Alright, well, we'll start with Adam. Welcome to Talking Sith, everybody.
We'll start with Adam.
Hey, Chaz.
Everyone act
Good
natural.
Good timing, Chaz.
Yeah, Chaz is really cool.
Yeah, as we were saying, Chaz is actually the best, and no one should ever argue that.
Ay, jeez.
Yeah.
Ay, ay, caramba.
Ay, caramba.
How's it going, buddy?
Not bad.
Hola.
Not bad at all. Are we going? Are we good? Are we
We're live.
Oh, okay,
We
cool.
are
What's up?
live. What's up?
Nothing much. How you guys doing? I had, it was a long week, but it was a week, so that's, I guess, a thing. But, yeah, it was
Good points.
It was nice. Yeah. Some cool stuff happened. Star Wars
I know,
wise, which is
there's some stuff to talk about.
There's plenty to talk about, yeah. First thing I wanted to chat about, because I was really excited about it last time we talked, and then it finally happened just as I woke up from my nap after work. I saw that they finally released the pictures for the toys.
Yeah, I was going
that
to talk about
are
that.
coming out.
Oh, I didn't even see him.
Yeah,
Lando
I'm
looks
super
pretty
excited.
cool.
Lando looks incredible. Han looks alright, but Lando looks really good. Lando looks really, really cool. So,
I also saw an article about how this movie has the first female droid. It had
Whoa.
the female droid from Phantom Menace saying, "Are you serious?" Because there's a female protocol droid in Episode 1.
I was gonna say.
Yeah.
And who's to say what gender the robots are? Come on.
that's what I was gonna say. I was like, wait, first female robot. I guess it was like I never really thought about that. Like
Yeah.
They
that there
procreate.
Let's be
I was
honest.
gonna say I didn't know there could be
R2D2
male and
is a-
female
is a
robots.
babe.
First off, and
Well, what do you
like,
think
second-
the DQ stands for? Anyway, R2, I remember when I was a kid, someone said like R5D4 from A New Hope, the defective unit that Uncle Owen originally buys is R2D2's cousin. And even as a kid, I was like, what? Like, that doesn't
how can
make
you have
any
a
sense.
cousin?
His
Like,
cousin.
does that just mean any droid that was made in the same
No, it's probably
factory
the
as
same.
you?
Right,
Yeah,
it's a-
yeah, that's exactly what it is. Same assembly line.
Well, right, they're
Oh,
the same assembly company, but that's different. I don't know. I wouldn't call
That's a lot of cousins.
I wouldn't call
Mass produced.
the
Right.
PlayStation the cousin of I don't know,
Why
of
not?
Sony camera.
Yeah, that's very true.
It's
I don't.
weird.
That's
Anyway,
usually because
yeah,
I don't.
the action figures do look good. Lando looks awesome. I'll be honest.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
Lando
buy
looks really cool. The Black Series is what I usually collect, and they're like just real simple toys, and they usually go for around like they start at around $20, and then if you wait like a month or two, they usually drop down to around like 16. And those ones are the ones I usually grab, and the Lando one for that also looks great. The girl, I can't remember.
Kira.
Yes. She looks pretty cool too. She has that weird side bob thing going with her hair, though. I don't know how I feel about that. I know it's a dumb thing.
Because it's Leia's sister.
Jeez.
Jared, what did you think of the trailer?
I thought it looked pretty
Yeah,
good. It
that's
actually
right,
got me
you were
excited. I wasn't like excited before I saw it. Well, I was excited, but I wasn't like super pumped. Now I'm pretty
Yeah.
pumped.
Yeah, that was our general feeling last week when we talked about it. It was like we were so ready for it to be bad, and we just hoped that it wouldn't be
Terrible.
that. We just wanted it to be watchable. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then the trailer actually got me
Got me pretty
stoked.
excited.
Like,
Yeah.
I liked it.
And then I was
Lando
thinking, like,
and the
how could this
Falcon both
movie
look
be
awesome.
bad? It should be awesome.
Yeah.
It really shouldn't be bad at all. But you know.
Yeah, the
Was there
only way
anything
it
about the
can
trailer that stood out to you?
Not really. I mean, it was all kind of expected stuff. I don't know.
Gotta get him out
Yeah.
of reaction control or we're gonna
Nothing
lose
really
Yeah.
serious.
What were you gonna say, Chess?
I was gonna say the only way it could be bad is if it's just like poor writing, but I don't really expect that. Like because I just feel like that's really it. Like I mean,
Well, isn't
they
it
could get
Lawrence
away with
Kasdan and his
basically.
kid?
Yeah,
wrote
exactly.
it?
That's what I mean. Like I'm really doubting that it's gonna be poorly written because I thought
They
it was
wrote
Lawrence Kasdan. I didn't know it was. I didn't know his kid was with him. I just thought it was Lawrence Kasdan. I didn't.
Yeah, I got faith.
didn't.
I mean, I did not, like, we had so many things that we were scared about, that we talked about for months and months, and, I mean, I'm still not 100% sold, but I'm not 100% nervous either, and I was before.
Oh yeah. Oh my god. I'm terrible.
Yeah, I was definitely nervous before, and it's not that I'm not like still a little bit like this could, but like I'm much more like it just looks like they at least paid attention to the details of like the visual aspects of the universe. From
Oh
what
yeah,
I've
it looks
seen.
incredible. Yeah, the Falcon looks amazing. The costume design and set design
Yeah,
both
that's
look, you know, faithful to Star Wars.
Yeah.
But Lando and the Falcon both look just so good that I can't wait. 'Cause the
Yeah,
way
the Falcon
flies
specifically looked really good.
around. And then
and I'm
that
wondering-
storm or that Star Destroyer coming out of the lightning storm in space.
Yeah,
like,
that was a
looks-
really cool scene.
even if it doesn't make any sense, it looks visually like it's gonna be cool. So
Exactly.
I'm
Yeah,
excited now.
that's what's really like exciting is it looks like it's gonna be like you said at least like visually correct, and then not only that, but the characters like as far as like you know aliens and you know stuff like that, like the side character, it looks like they just packed a lot of like practical effects and a lot of costumes and makeup and all of that into this one.
And there's
which
so
is
many
really good.
people in it that I keep forgetting about. Like Paul Bettany's in it, Sandy
Yeah.
Newton's in it. Like it's a pretty A-list
Push off
cast
the landing pad.
Yeah.
for a Star Wars movie. I mean, it's definitely more so than Rogue One was,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
you know, Force Awakens.
I was
and all
also
that. So
This one
we'll see.
feels a little
I'm
bit
excited.
different than Rogue One too. It doesn't feel quite the same as Rogue One when it
And I
comes to
feel
Well,
like
it's a character that we have expectations for. It's,
maybe
it's
that's what it
different.
is. Yeah, it's just like
not
it-
a new cast. It's with just throwbacks. It's a whole character that is a throwback. So
Yeah.
and I think this will be really telling because you know they haven't committed to doing an Obi-Wan movie. So I think that this will sort of show them, all right, we can do an Obi-Wan movie because it's a character that's known and loved already because it worked with Han, or maybe they'll decide to do something else. But I'm excited now that I've seen the trailer. I was nervous, and I'm still nervous, but
This is turning into a bloodbath.
I'm way more excited than I was.
Yeah, for sure.
I think the lowered expectations will really help too, because I think that's one of the reasons people were so
Yeah.
upset with like The Last Jedi is because we had the expectations that it was going to be
Well,
like
everyone had their own
Yeah.
plan for it.
yeah, plan.
Yeah. No, The Last Jedi was I was talking to someone the other day, and it was kind of not I don't want to use the word anomaly because that's not hype, right? But it's kind of an outlier, I guess is the right word, I guess. Where it's like it was like this special event that we kind of like built ourselves up for, and like turned into like it turned into something like more than a movie. Like it turned into like this. It turned into this almost this battle of. It almost turned into like it did like it was like this battle of one who's correct, like who in the fan base is right. And not just who in the fan base is right, but then it turned into what, you know, is it like what it almost split the Star Wars fandom into like, you know, diehards and like just people who are casually seeing the the movie, like, and then there were people who were like, oh, we really like. So it just like I don't know, The Last Jedi. Like when I think about it, I'm like, man, I have never been that hyped for a movie in a long time, and it was in the weirdest way.
Like Force Awakens. Force Awakens was like that too, except Force Awakens went how you thought it would go.
Yeah,
so like, you didn't come out of it thinking that you were I don't know wrong about anything going into it. Yeah. Whereas Last Jedi, you know, went totally the opposite way. I wouldn't say that the hype for Last Jedi was necessarily that much higher than it was for Force Awakens, or at least for me. Maybe in general, the general population it was, but for me, I felt, you know, if anything, maybe even more excited about Force Awakens than I did for Last Jedi. But I will say that the leaving the theater was a totally different experience because it went so differently from how anyone expected it. But also, you got to put that in perspective. Like, think about if you had never seen Empire, but you had seen A New Hope, or at the time just Star Wars, and then you went and saw Empire, and you expected it to be this, you know, good guys overcoming, and instead it ends on this crazy dark note, and so much happens that didn't happen in the first one, and you're like, well, you know, how is that okay? And Last Jedi is kind of similar to that, where, you know, there's so many people complaining about, oh, that's not how it works, and blah blah blah, and that's exactly what every Star Wars has done ever, other than the first entries in trilogies, which are pretty run-of-the-mill. The second one turns that trilogy on its head, in terms of tone and outcome and everything. So I think, if anything, we kind of should have expected Last Jedi to be more along the lines of what it was, instead of what we were expecting it to be, which obviously it wasn't. But then, in addition to that, sort of wrapped up in that, you also have the fact that the plot expectations didn't go anywhere. Like the characters and like Snoke and Rey and everything were so different from how people expected it, which I don't know that Empire had that level of discrepancy between expectations and what happened.
Yeah, that's very true. I think that's a good point, though, that it does mirror it in that way, at least, where at the end of Jedi, we did kind of get this, like, oh, crap, like, everything kind of fell to pieces, you know, so.
Oh, yeah, the Empire was dark, and Last Jedi is...
Which is why it was
dark as well. So, I mean, it's I'm not comparing Empire to Last Jedi, but they're in terms of overall quality, but I do think that they're similar in that they're the exact opposite, you know, of their predecessor emotionally.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it was like just one of those rare moments in, like, not just Star Wars fandom, but in like cinematic time, where it was just like there was so much put into this, like and not only that, but it wasn't like Disney really helped it or Lucasfilm helped it with being so secretive about the movie the entire time. And so any little piece of information we got, it was almost like, because they were so secretive, whenever we got anything, we overanalyzed the crap out of it. So we'd like,
yeah, but that's not unique to Last Jedi, though. We do that with everything. No, it's not unique to Last
Jedi, but it's definitely like, I just feel like the way that we did it this time was unique to Last Jedi.
I don't know, because we did that. I think we would have done that with Force Awakens if Talking Sith had been a thing at the time, because we didn't have as much to go on. If anything, I think we probably had more of Last Jedi to go on. We just got it so much later than we got stuff with Force Awakens.
Yeah, I just wonder why then, because like with the Force Awakens, I did the same thing. Like you said, we weren't doing Last Jedi at the time, or Last Jedi. We weren't doing Talking Sith at the time. But like I know at the time I was definitely like looking at stuff, trying to like figure out who was who and this person and that and is this whatever. And then when I saw the movie, it wasn't like, oh no, Rey wasn't like Luke's daughter, or this person wasn't this, or this didn't happen this way, so I'm like really upset. I didn't give a crap. I loved the movie so much. Whereas with The Last Jedi, even though like I had that same thing, afterwards I had to like readjust myself to like wanting to like the movie, and then eventually like being like, oh well, I do like the movie. I just got annoyed because I didn't get my way. So it was really like I just had to like justify that. Which is like I didn't feel like it was the same way quite around like with the Force Awakens, but The Last Jedi was.
I think about it like Empire though. Like if you had come out of New Hope and you were ready for these characters to have, all these expectations that you thought for them, and then all of a sudden you find out that the Emperor is a person, and there's just so much different stuff in Empire that turns everything about A New Hope on its head. That I bet if the internet were around, we'd have a lot of the same reaction to Empire as we had for Last Jedi. And
for sure.
The only difference is that you don't have Lucas to say, relax, the third one's going to tie it all together. Because we don't have that. We have J.J. Abrams coming back. We don't even have the original plan that Disney, put forward. But, I don't think I don't think I would agree that they necessarily hurt themselves by not giving us a ton of information. I just think that's pretty much par for the course especially for Star Wars, but I would even argue for Disney. The only reason it doesn't seem as big a deal with Marvel movies is because we all have an idea of how Marvel movies are going to go based on the comic books or based on the other movies or based on the characters. And so we don't even notice that there's not that much information. But we have just as many trailers for Avengers as we did for Last Jedi. We just read so much more into The Last Jedi because it's Star Wars and all you get is the trailer. So it's not like you can go read the comic and brush up on your knowledge or whatever. So I don't know. I don't have. I mean, I guess I understand the. I don't understand. I don't understand the disappointment that some people have for Last Jedi based on the fact that it didn't go the way they thought it would. That doesn't make like. Why would you want to go to the movies all the time and have them go the way you think it's going to? Especially because that was such a huge complaint about The Force Awakens.
That's pretty
much
it's
the same people that are so mad about Last Jedi are the same people who are like, oh, this is just A New Hope 2 and it's so stupid and fan service and blah blah blah.
Star Wars, like you can't win with
just
Star
Wars.
Just
shut up, let me enjoy it. Like I can't.
Exactly.
I don't get it.
You don't have to listen.
But anyway, the pictures of the action figures look cool. And
that was quite
I almost said Chados. Donald Glover had an interview in I want to say Esquire that I was reading, and he had a quote, and I took a picture of it because I liked it. He said something early in the interview where he was like, I think the reason that I can do what I can do right now, and I can feel comfortable doing it, is that I know I'm the only one around who can, which is pretty cool because he's never been lacking for confidence, but it's cool to see him sort of have that swag that Lando has. But he said, I told my agent I want to be Lando. I studied, I watched the movies a lot, and I killed it because I was ready. So it sounds like he is really happy with how his part in the movie turned out, which is really exciting to me. Because
that's extremely exciting because I've learned one thing about him as a person, and it's he like exudes excellence. Like he doesn't put something out unless it's excellent. Like Atlanta is excellent. That's an excellent
absolutely.
Show.
Yeah.
His albums are excellent. Like they're amazing albums. You know what I mean? So it's like even Community. His performances in Community, even just as like
and the cool thing about Community is that he got away from it when he didn't think he could bring it anything more than it already had. Like they tried to bring him back for season 6 and he said no because he wasn't going to further it and it wasn't going to further him. So I think that you can rely on him to at least have a vision for what he's doing. And you're right, he brings a different sort of quality to most of the things he involves himself with.
And I mean, even if we just talk about Lando as a character, like the minute he walked on screen, I remember just thinking like, this is the coolest dude. And I thought Han was like the coolest dude in the world as a kid.
Yeah.
Like Han Solo was like the epitome of cool. And then my mom and me sat down and we finally watched, you know, Empire, and I finally, you know, saw Lando, and I immediately was like, okay, who's this guy? He's
Right.
like really freaking cool. And not just that, but just you know who he is within the first 2 lines that he says. Like the first
Right.
2 lines that Billy D. Williams delivers, you know exactly who Lando is. And it's just, I mean, obviously there's nuances to his character that we start to figure out over time. But just, you know, that immediate weight that he brings to the screen, you know that, you know, Donald, he's not going to like redo this with this role without being able to bring the same gravity to the role.
Right.
So I'm just really excited because, like, just thinking about who the character of Lando is, he's such a fun character to watch and to learn more about and to, like, you know, explore, that I'm like, the fact that we get a continuation of Lando with this really great actor and artist who really, like, appreciates his craft and appreciates
That's what I was
the
gonna
character.
say. He really commits to not just like the product and the money and the end result, but he commits to the process of creating it more than a lot of people do, I think. And you know, he's really interested in making it the best version possible, regardless of what it is he's doing. So
And to top that
yeah,
off,
I
think
honestly
that-
think,
he's
yeah.
kind of
What'd you say, Jared?
shaft in the, like, to top that off, Lando hasn't really been in the new movies at all, which is kind of a surprise.
right,
He's kind of got the shaft, so it's like.
Yeah,
this-
I know
this
that
is a good
he
throwback.
was going to be in using the episode 8 script, and for some reason he didn't end up in the movie. But yeah, I agree. It's a nice time for Lando to make a re-emergence into the Star Wars universe.
Yeah, plus
it's
if
gonna be
we
awesome.
if we see Lando here, and obviously, you know, Disney is they're aware of the talent that this kid has because they're putting him in everything. Like, he's
Yeah.
in everything that they're doing right now. So, like, you know, obviously they know they have something good on their hands. I don't see why you wouldn't put Billy D back in to reprise his role in the next movie.
Yeah, he was supposed to in 8, and
Yeah.
you know, there's just a lot of.
Yeah,
I don't know
which
what the
was odd
script
because
originally
he was
called for. It
actually
was going to be a funeral, or if it was maybe him that was
Yeah.
supposed to be at the casino, or what. But
yeah.
yeah, I don't know what he was supposed to have done. All I know is that, as everybody
Yeah,
knows, he
because
didn't.
I remember he was at D23, and he was on stage with everyone else, and they had to sit down with all the older characters. So it was Ian McDermott, it was him, and it was Mark Hamill.
Right.
And they were all just like BSing about, like, you know, the movies and what was coming up, and there was kind of like this, like, and Ryan Johnson was on the stage with him as well, and they kind of make this little like hint at Lando possibly coming back, and then it never kind of got brought up again, and then he just never wound up in the movie. So I'm interested to see if they bring him back to the last one, because it would just be so cool to walk into some cantina on some forgotten planet and see
That's why
Lando
the casino is
playing
perfect setup. Like when Maz
was.
was saying, it's this high roller. He's got a red flower.
Did you think Lando too? I
swaggy,
immediately thought Lando.
Oh yeah, immediately. I was
I
like, okay,
immediately
cool.
thought Lando.
And then it's some random throwaway character. It just didn't make any sense to me. That could have easily been Lando. He didn't even have to do anything. He could have done the same thing that the guy ended up doing, and it's just been sort of a cameo, and it would have been better than what happened.
Yeah.
So that didn't make any sense to me, but we'll see. But yeah, childish. I mean, Donald Glover's confidence in the interview definitely made me excited. Like I said, his part in the trailer was cool. He looks good. He's got that swag. I just think that even if the rest of it is not up to what we would hope it would be, I think that he has the talent to carry it.
Yeah, me and my buddy at work were talking, and we were thinking, and I mean, I really think this might happen. I think that Lando might get just as much. I don't think he'll get more, but I think he'll get just as much screen time as Han's gonna get. I don't think.
Oh,
we're
I
gonna
agree. I
randomly-
think it's going to be like a buddy movie, and not buddy Han and Chewie necessarily, buddy Lando and Han.
I think we're gonna see the whole little crew.
Yeah.
You know, just like because that's kind of the setting we're kind of used to seeing Han in anyway, where he's with a group, a crew, and he's like whatever. I mean, that's typically how whether it be with Leia and Luke, or whether it be with Rey and Finn, carrying.
Right.
So like,
I think they probably recognize that the kid who plays Han will benefit from sharing the screen as opposed to being the center of it at all times.
That's true, and Han Solo as just a character he's more fun to watch when he has people to feed off of. So like Han is he's more fun to watch when he has people to poke on and people to pick on and people to make jokes about and things like that, because that's where he kind of shines, where he can be kind of like the scruffy rascal and that kind of thing, So he just shines better with, I think, other strong characters, and what better person to put him in than Lando, obviously. So I think it was awesome that they were friends, to see, like, even when I would watch Empire, and I saw Han and Lando, not only did Lando's character look just really awesome with the cape and all that, and then he was so smooth talking, but because him and Han, it was like, all right, this guy, like, Han sees this guy as a peer. He clearly sees this dude
he trusts him even when he maybe shouldn't. Like, you can tell that they have a good rapport.
Exactly, and and Harrison Ford and Billy Dee did a really good job of with their performances. That's like such a solidified thing that all Donald Glover and this other guy have to do is just feed off that. That's all you have to do is just like reinforce that friendship that we already know exists. So it's kind of almost in the good.
He does that in Community. He does that in his old whatchamacallit, not College Humor. I don't remember what the name of that group was. Maybe it was College Humor. But they did like Bro Rape and Mystery Team and all that. He does well. He's just good at everything. I'm excited. I can't really overstate it. It's gonna be good. And then we also got finally some news about the reason for the termination of Phil Lord and Chris Taylor from the original.
I did not hear that news. What happened?
So I mean, it was pretty much what we had said. So the company and the directors both cited creative differences when it first occurred, which we were both like, whatever. So the guys came out and said that they, they stuck pretty much to that. They said they wanted to be creative and that it was a painful breakup, because all breakups are, but they felt like they learned a lot from the experience and that they would be better directors for it. And then Kathleen Kennedy came out and said pretty much the same thing. She said that they were really talented people, but there was a little bit more detail in that she said that in comedy, which is their background, you want to ad-lib and let sort of the cameras capture that natural cadence and just shape it into a movie. And that's sort of how the production goes. Whereas in Star Wars, you need to have more of a structure ahead of time. And then obviously they want there to be natural sort of, actors playing off each other and not ad-libbing, but just creating sort of the character. And having funny moments come naturally. You still need to have that operate within a structure. And especially for a Star Wars movie, because it's so expensive and, production is such a big deal. You've got to get your shots on the days and everything. And the guys before were much more, keen to just sort of letting the cameras roll and let the people, do what they do best. And that's just not how Star Wars usually does it. So that was a little bit more definitive, I guess, than we had before. It's a confirmation of what we talked about. It's a little bit feel-goody, you know what I mean? I feel like there's probably some more ugliness to it than either party is letting on. But that's the at least the PR spin on it. And then the other interesting question is, how much of the final movie is theirs? How much of it is stuff that they shot versus Ron Howard? Because Ron Howard said publicly on multiple occasions, he has said that, a lot of it's theirs, that he kept a lot of it in. But then Paul Bettany comes out and says, we reshot at least 80% of the movie. So not only like shots that weren't done yet, but reshoots. So you know, there's a little bit of a disparity there between director and actor. But I think Ron Howard's obviously he's going to say the right things and compliment the other guys. And obviously Kathleen Kennedy's going to do that too. But and the guys aren't going to say anything bad about Lucasfilm or anything because, you know, they're going to get the pantsuit off of them and also they want a career. So, you know, we might never know, but I am curious to see whether there will be a discernible difference when we go see the movie. Okay, that was clearly a Ron Howard shot, or that was clearly a Lord, you know what I mean? Or if it'll be just
I don't know,
because I think that would be the risk.
Yeah, that's
you
true.
want it
I mean,
to be a seamless experience, and I could easily see it not being that way.
I would almost want it to be like them, like with the comedic moments. I would almost hope that they would leave some of the things that they actually did capture. If they were able to get some like kind of like off the cuff little moments with, you know, with Lando and Han and things like that.
Yeah,
like
especially
maybe
with Donald Glover. Absolutely, I agree with that.
Then,
I
like,
just
some
think
of those
that the
moments
more
I
I
wouldn't
think
mind
about it,
saying.
they're not like each other. Like, Ron Howard has never made a movie that's anything like the Lego Movie or 21 Jump Street. And those guys have never made a movie that's anything like, you know, Apollo 13 or A Beautiful Mind. So, you know, they're totally opposite ends of the spectrum. And you know, that's not necessarily a bad thing. It's just weird if you want to have them make the same movie. Because they literally made the same movie, not two movies in the same trilogy, the same exact thing. So
I wonder how much of the movie they actually kept. Yeah, it would be interesting to see, to like get a realistic like figure on like this, like, because you said, you know, we reshot 80% of the movie. It's like, well, what does that mean? Like,
right,
you know, that seems like a lot. Yeah, 80% is a lot.
It doesn't seem like that long ago they like announced that he was taking over. That's like crazy. If it's 80%.
It was last summer, yeah.
That's insane.
Well, I mean, it probably goes a lot to
movie,
explaining why we had such a delay for a trailer too.
Yeah, that's true.
But
if the movie's good,
it's a big deal to change your director.
That's a really big accomplishment.
It is a big deal to change a director, and that is a massive portion of the movie. So, like, those were the things, like, if I hadn't seen the trailer yet, those were the things that were bugging. Like, those are the things where I was like, all right, I don't know about this movie because, like, 80% has been reshot at this amount of time.
And how much of the shots that they kept are just, like, CGI of the exterior of the Falcon. Like, if they reshot every cockpit scene, or every scene of, you know, Lando talking to Han or something, I could see that being 80% of the movie and feeling pretty dramatically different from what the original guys had expected. Or maybe they just meant that they reshot 80% of what the guys had shot at that time because they hadn't finished the movie. So if they had only shot, you know, 50% of the movie and they reshot 80% of that 50%, that's a different calculation.
That's a whole different figure.
But it is a big difference to switch directors in the middle of a shoot. You don't usually do it unless there's like a scandal. You know what I mean? Like if someone gets fired.
And it's not usually something that's like told to the entire public. Like right away.
I mean, yeah, right. You have to know with a franchise as big as Star Wars, but I don't know. It'll be interesting. It's gonna be kind of crazy. But movies don't always survive that sort of upheaval. I know that there's a movie that just came out called, I think it's called All the Money in the World, and they had filmed it with an actor who I'm going to forget, who got fired because of some sexual harassment allegations. It might have been Kevin Spacey. And they recast the part and then reshot everything about that part with Christopher Plummer in 6 days, which is ridiculous. That's just out of this world. And then the movie was ready to go. So, I mean, it's possible. It's just, usually there's a good reason for it. So I wonder how scared Disney was of what was about to happen with the Han Solo movie that caused them to fire, you know, the people they had put ink to paper with for, you know, to lead this franchise. It's just interesting because Lego trusted them. Lego let them go with 2 of their movies, and they didn't, you know, pull any plugs.
But that's true. But like you just stated, though, like they wanted 2 different things for those movies. So like the Lego movies they didn't really mind if you had those more. Like, I could see, all those characters in the booth, doing voiceovers, and then like
Right,
kind
they're
of
animated. Exactly, you just animate it
to rip
after.
off each other, and exactly. So, and plus the feel of the Lego movie. Obviously, it's Star Wars with Lego, but the feel of the Lego movies, comedic, like the comedy timing and things like that. Wise, they wanted a different. They wanted that more like,
But that's what they want out of the Star Wars, and that's the other interesting thing is they're saying this is the funniest Star Wars movie ever, which whatever, that's fine. And we talked about it when we first heard that, last May. We said, okay, but do we want a movie that's funny that happens to have Star Wars characters, or do we want a Star Wars movie that happens to be funny? And we were a little bit nervous that they would lean a little bit more towards the former. So, I mean, we'll see. I don't really have any judgments until I see it. I just think that it's really interesting that there's, obviously Kathleen Kennedy and the two guys are in line with each other, but Paul Bettany's quote pretty much directly conflicted with what Ron Howard said, which is...
But it's like you said, Ron Howard's not going to, say, oh, yeah, we reshot 80% of the movie because those guys are terrible.
Yeah, but it's usually Disney's so good at keeping their actors in that same line, too, though.
Oh, that's
You know
true.
what I mean?
That's a good point.
Like, it's not very often that you're going to hear an actor come out and say that about a Disney movie or a Star Wars movie. And Paul Bettany's not new to this. He's Vision in the Marvel franchise. So he's used to the Disney hush-hush. He's used to being a part of that, and it's interesting. I thought it was an interesting article because obviously some of it just confirmed what we had already talked about, but to have Paul Bettany and Ron Howard basically say the opposite thing is
that's interesting.
in the same article too. It's not like I read two different articles. It was pretty funny, but I'm excited, especially because the trailer showed literally zero Sandy Newton and zero Paul Bettany. I wonder who they are. Are they bad guys? Are they good guys? Or, what we talked about last week. Are we going to see some Jabba? Are we going to see some Boba Fett or Greedo? Or there's so many characters that they can make main antagonists. And I'm excited after seeing the trailer. I think that the Falcon looks incredible. I think Lando looks incredible. It's just hard for me to not have in the back of my mind the actual, the process of making a movie is, it doesn't just come out. You know what I mean? There's a lot that goes into it. And I'm really, this is probably the most we've seen behind the curtain of a Star Wars movie. And, so it's not like we have something to compare it to. Like, are all the movies like this where it's this chaotic and then it comes out and it's hunky-dory? Or is it, unique to this movie? So we'll see, but I'm excited.
Yeah, it should be good. I mean, it should be amazing. The other thing was, we finally got an official announcement that there are several, not just even one, but several Star Wars shows in development for the Disney streaming service. Yeah. So we talked about it a little bit last time, so we won't get too deep into it. But I just thought it was interesting that they brought on the two guys as writers from
Game of Thrones guys.
Game of Thrones, and now we have
for a movie series,
for that's right, it was for a movie series. But it's just, I don't know, it's just interesting. I don't know what, like I said, I don't know if I'm happy about this or upset about it because I'm like, I would like to see some stories explored visually in
I was gonna say I know we weren't stoked about having a million movies, but I don't mind having a million shows. I think that's cool. I haven't seen Rebels and I haven't finished Clone Wars, but I can tell you that the fact that they exist doesn't hurt Star Wars as a franchise, whereas a million movies could. So
if anything, Clone Wars almost helped the prequels, honestly.
Right, absolutely, and they don't take away from the magic that is Star Wars just by existing. Whereas a lot of movies could, even if the movies weren't necessarily the worst thing in the world, they could take away from Star Wars just by being a thing. So, I would be totally down with them having a Star Wars streaming service and making exclusive content for it, or making an HBO show or a Fox show or something. Like X-Men does, because worst case scenario, if you're not interested in it, don't watch it. We don't have that option with a movie.
And
If
it's
there's
awesome
a
with-
movie, you gotta
yeah.
watch it.
It's awesome
Yeah.
with TV shows because they can like take their time. They just do like hour episodes. They could have like
Right.
10 episodes in a season. That's 10 hours of Star
It's a
Wars.
10-hour
Like, that's
movie.
awesome. Dude.
Yeah.
It's like they can
Absolutely.
take their
Yeah, that's-
time with character development, which sometimes in the movie can feel kind of rushed, but it's gonna be good. It's pretty sweet.
Yeah, and
Yeah,
I think
that-
that's sort of the way the world's going anyways.
Yeah.
Movies are not necessarily not a thing, but the 10-hour miniseries is just
Yeah,
as big a
that-
budget as a lot of movies now. You know what I mean? Like you've got these made-for-TV miniseries that have an end date like a movie does, where you know after episode 10 you're not getting like more episodes, like the O.J. Simpson show or something. And and you know, on top of that, in addition to that, you have shows like Game of Thrones or Walking Dead with huge season budgets, and
Yeah,
I don't
so
know.
you could
I
do
don't
either
mind
one.
it going that way. Disney's got the money for it, that's for
Yeah.
sure, and they'll make the money back off their revenue service if they have their own streaming, or if they put it on regular TV, the money tenfold with advertisements. Yeah, I don't think that's a bad thing. The movies I could easily see being a bad thing.
Yes. Well, it's just like look at Marvel movies versus Marvel shows on Netflix. It's like the shows.
Oh
are
yeah, or
different.
Marvel shows on TV too. You've got
Yeah.
Legion and Gifted and Agents of Shield, and I mean I'm not going to sit here and say I've watched Legion or The Gifted, but they
Guaranteed they're
exist.
better
You know what I mean? And they don't
Civil
take
War.
away from my enjoyment of Marvel in general.
Yeah.
And they could do animated, they could do live action drama, they could do a million different types of things. Plus TV allows you to be more creative than movies do. You could do something like,
Exactly.
real-time storytelling like 24, or you could do, totally different universes. You could do everything. There's just so many options, and the movies, you're really limited to, a 2.5 hour formula. I have nothing against a million shows.
The one thing I was excited about was that the only way that I feel like the Old Republic is going to get explored
Yes.
is through a TV
That's
show.
exactly what I was gonna say.
That's probably the only way. I don't see it ever really
the
making
perfect
it onto the
platform
big
for it.
screen, but it really is the perfect platform to see like Malgus or Bane,
Yeah,
or
'cause there's so
even
many,
see
there's
like
so many
Plagueis or
different
something
stories
like
they
that.
could do.
Yeah, just do a miniseries like Marvel, like the Daredevil show, or like that would be perfect. I really
Yeah.
don't think.
Even if you just had a show that was called Jedi Knights, and it literally just followed like a couple just Jedi Knights, and there's I would watch that.
They
I
could
would
literally
watch
do
that.
yeah,
anything,
easy.
and it'll be good. Like,
Yeah,
there's
yeah.
so many things to pick
I
from.
think the list of things they couldn't do is way shorter than the list
Yeah,
of things
which
they
kinda
could do.
scares
They
me
could do
because I
far in
hope-
the future. They could do far in the past.
Yeah,
They could
I
do
hope,
some random Coruscant civilian during the war. Like they could do literally anything they want.
Yeah.
And,
That guy at the battle station in Yavin.
Right,
Did you
and
see
people
that
will either
video?
watch it or they won't, and it won't, it won't matter like a movie would.
That was
So I just think that it's, again, zero qualms with that. That would be exciting, if anything.
Yeah, like I said, I'm excited about the notion of more content outside of the movies. With the movies themselves, anytime they announce a new movie, I'm like I'm really skeptical.
Yeah,
But
it's-
anything else, books, comic books, whatever, I think as a longtime Star Wars fan, you're more used to that content anyway. Because I used to be like, it used to be back in the day, you knew you weren't going to get a movie. Like, that wasn't even in your head that a movie was coming. So when a book dropped, or a comic book dropped, or, a new episode of Clone Wars, that was it. Yeah, exactly.
Right.
But because we never had
Even
in
a
our
video
head, like,
game, you're like, oh, cool,
Yeah.
Kyle Katarn, he's a Jedi Knight after Luke is a master. Or, like, there's just
Exactly.
so much about it that is just engaging, and the movies could lose that easily, and that's
Yeah.
scary to me. But,
Yeah.
yeah, I agree. I mean, I remember as a kid, I was a member of like the Star Wars Kids fan club, and I would get the magazines, and the magazines would have like a page and a half story about nothing that mattered, like like about a droid fighting another droid. And I'd be like, oh, a new Star Wars, and it was just such a cool thing, and no one has that feel anymore, other than TV shows. So it's as close as you can get for sure.
Yeah.
So
And I feel like
again,
we're in a really
not-
good we're at a good age for TV right now. I feel like TV's probably we have probably the best TV we've ever had right now.
Yeah, you're gonna be able to watch it on your phone. You're gonna be able to watch it. You know, you could if they do it like the Netflix shows, you'll be able to stream 24 episodes day one, or you know, or they could do it like the Tick and give you half the season once and then the other half 6 months later, or they could do it like a regular show and give it to you weekly. Like there's so many.
Yeah, and it's interesting that they have more than one show in the works. Like they said, they have a couple of them.
It'll be interesting if they're concurrent. If they come out at the same time, or if they're about the same thing.
Yeah, or if they do kind of like a Walking Dead type thing where they make the show and then they have like the side show that like complements the show that who knows?
As long as they're good as opposed to The Walking Dead. But I agree. I think that there's a lot of they could do anything, literally anything. They could make a kids show and then an adult show that goes with it. Like there's just so much they could do.
I'm honestly hoping, because the Star Wars: The Clone Wars was awesome, but it was like there were some episodes where you had to like remind yourself, like, right, this is for children.
This is a kid show.
The reason why this is like seems so dumb to me right now is because it's for kids. Like, I would have to like remind myself of that sometimes because I'm like, it's Star Wars, it belongs to me. Like it's but I would have to say like, no, it's for kids. That's like the whole thing. I would love to see like a show that's like, this is for adults. This is like rated, whatever.
Yeah,
18,
I wouldn't.
This is, I mean, not anything like adult, like sexually wise, but I just mean like.
No, I wouldn't. They ask that question on Instagram all the time. If you ever want Instagram followers in your Star Wars fan page, post a poll. Do you want to see a rated R Star Wars movie? Because every time I scroll through Instagram, I see that question. My answer is always unequivocally no. I don't think it needs to be that way. Because I can't think of a way to put it in Star Wars without forcing. You know what I mean? Like,
I would like to see...
Like, Episode 2 and 3 are violent movies. And there's no reason for them to have to be more violent. Other than just, gratuitous amounts of blood. Like, people are getting chopped in half, people are getting beheaded, people are getting their arms chopped off, people are getting burned alive. And the story...
People do get beheaded, that's very true.
Like, there's no reason to make a blood spurt come out of his neck just to add a couple years to the age you have to be to watch it. You know what I mean? And Star Wars is always, one of the interesting things Star Wars has always done is made all those things matter to the story too. Like, the reason wounds don't bleed is because a lightsaber is a heat weapon and it cauterizes it. Like, that's interesting to me. And I don't know. I just feel like to have somebody, drop an F-bomb once in a while would just lose some of what makes Star Wars.
Yeah, I guess true. It'd be weird to see somebody swear in Star Wars. That's true. I never thought about that, but it would be weird because I've never seen it. Like, just to see like some random droid like
Yeah, like we already have the thematic elements. Like Rogue One is heavy. Like everyone dies, and same thing in Empire and even Last Jedi. Like we don't need them to be heavier. And we also, like I said, there's a lot of violence throughout Star Wars. Like, think of what Vader does in Rogue One. So, I mean, I don't think there's much call for it.
Yeah, even the implication of what Vader does in, Episode 3.
Right, and that almost makes it more. The fact that it's implied or behind the curtain a little bit is almost more sinister than just showing it.
That's true. Like, even when Obi-Wan goes back and, like, watches that, like, yeah, that's true. Like, when Obi-Wan goes back and, like, watches the video footage of him, like, in the actual, like, with the younglings, that, like, straight, like, I remember being, like, ooh. Like, that's rough. Yeah. That's some rough shit right there. You just straight up, like, killed kids.
But if they just showed him walk in there and do sort of, like, a red wedding on all the younglings, that's not exactly. To me, that's just not as... I mean, there's a place for Game of Thrones and there's a place for Star Wars. I don't think they need to merge.
Yeah,
we talked about it last week too. I just don't need it. But I get people that do. But they're all the people.
But
that
you're right. That's like what Star Wars is about. Like even that little boy when he takes that like step back and like gives that look to like that was like that's become like one of the most iconic scenes in Star Wars. Like
and there's just so much weight to that second and a half of footage. As opposed to having to make it a 20-minute gore fest red wedding stuff.
Not to mention that
it's different.
Yeah, I always love that scene too. Not to mention that not to harp on it too much, but not to mention that the little boy looked so much like Anakin did when he was like a little boy. It just like that scene itself was like, oh, man, that's heavy.
Absolutely.
He's about to kill all these kids. Like this is about to get real heavy real quick. You know, and then not even that, but when he goes back to, you're right. You know what? It's like you can't really get much more violent than when he's back killing off all the separatist, whatever. Like, yeah, like when he's in the whatever, killing off all the what are they called? Yeah. He's like slaughtering them. They have no defense. No. They have like no whatever, and they show the sand
like,
people,
oh god,
or the sand people, or the sand people when he's just literally. Like,
Anakin murks fools in Star Wars. There's no reason.
That's very true. Yeah, I mean, you know what? When you think about it, he really does. Like he goes off like very frequently. That's funny.
Yeah, every single Star Wars movie, he's choke slamming people in A New Hope. He's murking people in Rogue One. Like there's literally nothing in Star Wars that's
when he slams the guy on the ceiling and then like and slices the guy's stomach open,
his fist.
It's like, oh god.
Yeah, it's brutal. And to make it bloody gratuitously, I feel like would be.
You're right. It was unnecessary. Yeah, because I think the violence is in the action itself, like because you know
how sinister it is, because you know what it means.
Like when he chokes
Padme, he doesn't have to like slam her into the ground too. The fact that he's choking her is emotional, and like it doesn't have to be, laced with F-bombs or something like that. Right, like that means a lot, and it's just a different universe. There's places for it. Like if you want to get your rocks off watching it, then watch something that has
watch
it.
Walking Dead. Well, you know what? That's true, because one of the reasons I actually stopped watching The Walking Dead was because of the over-the-top violence. Because it got to a point where it was unnecessary. Like, it got to a point where it was just violence for the sake of violence. Like, I don't mind, like, watching a bunch of zombies, like, walk around, like, whatever, monster movies. Like, that's cool. But when you're just bashing people, like, their brains in, like every other episode, and showing it like it's, and then using the technology and all the resources you have to make it look as absolutely real as possible. Like it just stopped being attractive to me. I'm like, I don't want to watch people die for an hour. Like it doesn't seem like fun to me. Like so.
I can acknowledge that a lot of people do want exactly that. Like a lot of people want to watch people get just wrecked on Walking Dead or Game of Thrones or whatever. It just doesn't belong.
That's why it's there. Yeah, exactly. I mean, if that's what you want, then that's why it's there. Like, that's perfectly fine. But you're right. I wouldn't want to see it. I mean, at the end of the day, like you said, it is pretty violent in itself. I mean, lightsabers, like, the whole battles themselves, I mean, they're a pretty violent weapon. And like you said, I thought it was pretty, I've always thought it was pretty cool, too, that, like, once you get hit by a lightsaber, that's it. Like, you don't, there's no, like, you lose a limb. That's it. There's no, like...
I think that you would lose kind of some of it. It's not even just that it doesn't need it and you want to keep some of your audience. It's that Star Wars would lose some of what makes it Star Wars by including it. Because part of what makes it so dark is that it's not shown. And that, you're left sitting there imagining what just happened. And, I mean, when it needs to be shown, it gets shown. Like, Snoke got Shrek. Maul gets wrecked. Like people get.
I mean, not to mention, like even like one of the very.
We lost you.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, even one of the earliest scenes we ever see in Star Wars is Luke's uncle and aunt burned up,
charred up
into a freaking crisp. Like so, you know what I mean? It's not like Star Wars
you remember that now. How many years later since you watched it for the first time? Like 25 years later, that image is in your brain forever.
Exactly.
It's because you're not desensitized to it, and because like I said, it's more sinister because of what it is.
And I remember when he cut off the arm of the
guy in the bar.
And I remember thinking like, oh man, that's intense. Like. It looked so real when I was a kid.
Like it looks. And he doesn't do anything. Obi-Wan literally doesn't do a single thing. He like swings his arm around. He goes, and then you hear that scream. Remember that scream too? That scream is in your brain.
Oh my god, yeah.
And it's because of how it is. You can't have that sort of. You can't have it the other way.
Yeah.
Regardless of the capabilities of the studios nowadays to make a Game of Thrones type show, just because you can doesn't mean you should. And I think Star Wars is the prime example of that.
Yeah, definitely. Well, before we go, the only other thing that there was to talk about was Battlefront 2. Man, this game is having some issues. I don't even know really, like what, like it's hard because I really want to like keep liking this game, but it's just like so now we were supposed to get an update, I think this week, but it's been dropped. Like, I think they're supposed to still be planning on doing it, but they didn't say when.
Yep.
So we're supposed to be getting this update with, like, and I guess it was supposed to come with new content, and it was supposed to balance out some of the things we were supposed to get balanced out, and it's just, like, not coming now. And
Yeah, I think it's because people just aren't playing it. I honestly think that's why. They're not getting it. They didn't get the, like, launch sales that they thought they would, and people are losing interest super quick, so...
Yeah, it's Mass Effect again, where
It's
they didn't charge us for the content, so they have no drive to
like,
give us the content.
It's exactly what we were worried about when they pulled off on the season pass and then on the microtransactions. It's like...
Yeah, it sucks because this is how you get people back, though, is by putting... Like, if you put a map pack out and you put, you know, 5 or 6 characters out and you said, here you go. If DICE came out and said, these are all the people we had developed, we were going to stagger their launches, but we're just going to give them to you all at once and you know, because you deserve something. Because why wouldn't they? Literally, there's no reason not to. But people would buy the game if they did that. That's the thing. Right now, people are out there buying Monster Hunter and you know, playing Fortnite and buying, pretty soon it'll be Far Cry. They're all playing games that are not this because they're coming out with content, and either that or the game is good enough to end up without content. So that's a different argument, I guess. But I think that if they just said, you know what, we're not making any money if we drop it every 3 months, or if we drop it all at once, we'll drop it all at once, that people would go out and buy the game.
I agree. I think that that's almost like a necessity at this point. They need to either they won't do it, but what they like if they cared, which they don't, they would drop whatever they had in the works right now. They would say, all right, whatever's done, whatever's finished, just put it out, and that'll bring people. Like all you really have to do. And we've said this a million times with Star Wars. All you really have to do is give us maps and characters and just stuff. Give us guns.
Just sit back and let us play it. Like you just sit back and watch us enjoy it.
That's all you have to do. And I don't understand how they manage this, but they managed to take one of the greatest entities that you could possibly get your hands on, Star Wars. Like, you can't go wrong with Star Wars. Like, if you have a chance to get your hands on any sort of Star Wars property and be able to put your seal on it and say, hey, this is our contribution to the Star Wars universe, all you have to do is pay attention to 2 things. Where you are and who is there. That's it.
Right.
Like, the planet has to be beautiful, or it just needs to be interesting, and that's not hard to do because you're literally in an imaginary universe. So you can make up whatever you want. Exactly. And as far as characters go, you don't even need to make any up. That's how great Star Wars is. You don't even have to make any characters up. Just pick one. Just literally turn a movie on, randomly cycle through it, stop it, look at the screen, pick that character, and somebody will love them. Somebody is going to think that they're the best thing ever. And that's all
because DICE probably is. Like DICE made every character that's coming out already. Like, they've been made since before the game existed, because that's how coding works. So it's really just that EA is Satan, and I think that it all goes back to when LucasArts shut down. Like, that was probably the time where everybody should have said, all right, Star Wars is screwed now. And not just like fanboys, because I remember saying those exact words, but anyone who ever like cared about the video game side of Star Wars should have right then said, this is bad. And instead it was like, all right, here's another company that's, you know, not gonna be worth any money. But it just sucks because, I mean, we already talked about it a couple weeks ago, but LucasArts closing, I think, was the big catalyst.
We have not had a good video game that's Star Wars.
It's not even that you haven't had a good one. You haven't had one that is there for the fan. You've had some fan service just to sell more copies,
Well,
but
Yeah.
it's in
that's what they
it's an
sold
EA
this game
world. We're
on.
just playing it.
That's
Right.
what they tried to sell it on. Like, this is your game. We're gonna change things based on what you guys say. And now they're just not gonna release
Had John
anything.
Boyega freaking,
Yeah.
making commercials for it and crap.
It got fans hyped. It's like, oh sweet, they're gonna do what we say. And it's
Yep.
like,
And it turned out EA was just still being EA, like they were saying what they needed to say to get
Well,
you
Well,
to
that's
buy
that's
the
exactly
game.
what happened with Mass Effect, though. They were like, finally you get a Mass Effect for Xbox One. It's
What
going
is
to be amazing. It's this huge new world, new characters. You
What
can
a
expect
disappointment.
like more than one game. It's going to be massive universe. It's beautiful. And instead, there's literally nothing to support it.
Yeah, right. Yeah. No, nothing. No, it was just such a disappointment, and unfortunately, it looks like Battlefront 2 is kind of following that suit. And so the other news we got was that, and I mean, with saying all that we just said, this news kind of makes sense. But right now, it looks like Disney is looking into Ubisoft and Activision as the people should be making the next Star Wars game. So yeah, we go from EA to possibly Ubisoft or Activision. I don't know if it's better or if it's worse.
Honestly,
have that
and
Respawn
I don't even mean this like to be a joke at all. Disney should stop and reopen Disney Interactive and something akin to LucasArts and open their own everything in-house. If they lose money, great, but they could make every Disney property, which is a ton. Like Disney Interactive and LucasArts closing made Disney a provider of content for someone else to publish. Whereas they could monopolize it easily, just like they're doing by pulling their stuff off Netflix. They could make their own development and publishing all in-house on their own.
But do you think that because they own the content and then would own the, whatever, do you think that would wind up being like, because there are monopoly laws, do you think that
No. That's how they used to do it. They had Disney Interactive before. They made all their their games, and then there's no laws against it. Otherwise, EA would be gone. Honestly, I think the only way to hold the content, and then if we got a bad game, then you would have someone to hold accountable. Right now, the only person on the can blame is himself. He got loud about He got loud about pay to win, and now he's like, fine, whatever, it's all free, but you don't get anything. And all we do is buy it. So like, at some point, it's our fault as fans. And the unfortunate thing about Star Wars is that the angry fans are the loudest, and they're the ones. And so we all have to suffer. But honestly, if I'm head of Disney, I'm opening up a trademark for Disney Interactive. I'm putting somebody from the head of LucasArts from days past, or like, Peter Molyneux or somebody who's big in the game industry. I'm putting in the head of it, like a Shigeru Miyamoto type person, and I'm saying that's it. That all of our games come out on this platform now. You can have your console and people would buy it legitimately. Like there could be a Disney Wii, and people would own it if it had Star Wars and.
Definitely.
You're like that's just how it works. The only problem would be something like Kingdom Hearts, but other than that, I really don't understand it. It doesn't make a lick of sense to me that they don't have.
You know what? You're right. You're right. I wonder why that is. I wonder because there has to be a reason why Disney, because there had to be somebody.
Because right now, video games are it. Like we were just talking about TV shows. If you want to make money right now, you get into consoles. You make a video game. So, and Disney has a wealth of franchises to just pull amazing games from. Like, remember all the side-scrolling Aladdin games and
Lion King games? Are you kidding me? Are you
just make a 3D one, and it's a millionaire gold mine. Like, it's going to be expensive at first, and obviously it's financially risky. But if there's any company that can,
oh my god! If they made like a super detailed upgraded version of Lion King, are you kidding me?
Because there's new movies coming out. Or think of all the franchises they own. They own Fox now. They own Marvel.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
throw a Guardians of the Galaxy game out there. I mean, make a crappy game once in a while. That's okay too. But you're making games for the people who are going to play them, as opposed to for the money behind it. And the money's just going to come naturally.
If you,
I honestly, to me, it's silly that Disney does not do that. And there's probably a good reason that they don't. It just, I can't think of one. It doesn't make any sense.
I can't imagine other than that, because my thing is you already have all this technology to build 3D models and to build all this. Because I mean, they make movies like Frozen and whatever and all this other stuff. Right. And not to mention they own Pixar, and not to mention they work hand in hand with ILM. So it's just really confusing as to why you can't do it. Like, it seems like all you would have to do, like, honestly, like, there are tiny studios, like Hello Games. It's not a great example because they didn't make a great game, but the guys who made No Man's Sky, that was like a team of like 15 people.
Oh no, there's indie games out there all over the place. I just think that the only reason I can think of is that Disney is a really old company, and all those big major studios that could do something like this, like Disney or Paramount or Universal or something, they all are super duper old. Like, they're just really old. And I don't think that necessarily see video games as worth their attention. They're just shaking their canes at it. And that would be the only thing I can think of, is that they're too stuck in their ways, their history and heritage of animation and children's classics,
but then again,
that they're not interested in reinventing themselves, because that would be like a reinvention of Disney. But I honestly think that Disney would be the Coke of the 21st century if they did something like that. It would be unheard of. No one's ever done it before, and it wouldn't be that much. Like, the games already exist, the code already exists. Just bring in the people that made it and hire them to work for you, as opposed to, EA. Like, that's not that difficult.
And that's easy to do when you own.
Yeah, like, look at how you did it in the '90s. Do that again. It doesn't make much sense to me that doesn't exist. And honestly, if it did, that would be who we could hold accountable for something like Battlefront 2. Because Battlefront 2 is great. It's beautiful. It's Star Warsy. It's fun. But it just doesn't stand up there with all the other games that are coming out right now.
And it's because of the developer. It's because of who's behind it. If Disney if Disney owned it and it was in-house, it could have been completely different. Because
I think it's maybe more about the publisher than the developer, but I do agree that if Disney owned it, that it's got if they had control, then they're the only ones that stand to lose from this. Right now, they don't lose, they don't gain, they just sit there counting money. But they're not going to ever.
But they obviously had an issue, because that's why they're going to look at Ubisoft and Activision now, because clearly they're.
Well, I think that might just be because they want to make more games, not because they want to make them instead. They might make EA, Ubisoft, and Activision all at the same time.
That's true. But who knows?
But it's sad because the games could be amazing, and it's like when a new Ninja Turtles movie comes out. I'm just sad that I didn't get to write it, because it's like what it could have been is almost more than
how's Injustice 2? How do they play it? Injustice 2?
Those are some pretty cool characters, I'll be honest.
I'm about to pick it up pretty soon. Nice. But I mean, I don't know. We'll see, because I will say this. Lately, I don't even realize I'm predicting things and they're coming true. Like not too long ago, me and you were talking and we're like, oh man, it'd be crazy if they announced all these Star Wars movies. Literally the next day, they're like, hey, we're making a ton more Star Wars movies. And then just the other day, I was sitting talking to my buddy and I was like, I'm never going to pre-order another game again unless they came out with like a Spyro remastered, which they probably won't
which
do.
is coming out.
Literally,
No, that got announced 2 days ago.
Literally, I was like, "Oh my god!" The next day they announced the Spyro remaster. I'm like, I don't know what's going on, but I'm clearly on some like next level shiz right now. I keep predicting things, so who knows? It may come true. Maybe Disney in like 3 days is gonna announce, "Hey, we're actually just gonna open up our own gaming studio." Which
it'll take someone like Viacom doing it first. Like if Viacom did it and they said, "We're making Nickelodeon games exclusively on this platform." And then they have the rights to Ninja Turtles and whatever else you want. then Disney might look into it. But I don't think Disney's willing to be the one that puts their toe in the water first. Like, they're not willing to take that
plus the
step.
video game world is much more, not necessarily complicated, it's just that if you're not, like you said, they're older companies, so if you're not used to it, then you don't quite understand. Because like you said, you do have games like Kingdom Hearts, and then you do have games like the Lego games, and so you have like these like split things.
Right, and there's a reason
to...
that LucasArts and Disney Interactive failed in the first place.
That's
so
true.
I mean,
yeah,
but I do think that the future right now is interactive entertainment, and we've talked about that. And I think that Disney should want a piece of that pie. They'd be stupid not to want a bigger piece of the pie than they already have. But what do I know? I mean, there's a reason I live paycheck to paycheck, and Kathleen Kennedy sweats dollar bills. Like, there's a difference in our strategic capabilities for sure. But
that's true. Yeah, but either way, so guys, we're just about at that time. So the last thing I wanted to say before we left, this has almost nothing, actually it has nothing to do with Star Wars at all, only that both of these things are owned by Disney. But the Black Panther movie is coming out at the end of this week, and I plan on going to check it out. And it's just, I rarely ever do this on this platform just because we're really just here to talk about Star Wars. But just, I've been reading things lately and all this, and it's just, I have to say, it's fascinating to me that so many people are so adamant about beating this movie down already because of the people who are in it, and haven't even given the movie a chance yet because they already, and you know what, first I'd like to say, I don't even want you to go see the movie. That's fine. If you have an issue with this movie because the people in it don't look like you, then don't go see it. I don't care if you see it. Well, they just the black. It's just that it's like I've been reading so many things like, oh, this is like an all black lineup, and this is Hollywood trying to like force like whatever down our throat and us to be PC and all this other stuff and blah blah blah.
Yeah, there's a big Facebook group called like Christians Against Black Panther. It's pretty bad, but I agree with you. I think that this channel is. I mean, Star Wars and Marvel have both been pretty inclusive communities. So talking about Star Wars, I think naturally we try to be pretty inclusive people, but yeah, don't be crappy on talking Sith.
Yeah, so it's so it's just funny because I just think it's interesting. Just from my perspective, just think about going to the movie, and every single time you've gone to the movie for your entire life, every single superhero that you see doesn't look like you. Right. And then you finally get one movie where the main superhero looks like you, and then everyone loses their mind. Like, how would that make you feel? And so that's all I'm saying is that, you know, obviously I'm excited to see it I'm excited to see it because I like comic books and I enjoy comic book lore, and just seeing a new character and where they come from in their origin story. And even if it's not his origin story, but, you know, just seeing where they come from and all these other things and how they fit into their universe, that's what fascinates me. The fact that he's black is just awesome. That's just an awesome bonus. But like, it doesn't have anything to do with it for me. So if you're not going to see this movie because of that reason, then you shouldn't really call yourself a fan of comic books or anything like that anyway, because I've had to go watch movies about people that don't look like me my whole life, and I've never ever said to myself one time, well, I'm not going to go see this because, you know, Spider-Man's white. Like, never have I said that. So it's like, you know, just try to, like, I don't know, come at it with a different perspective, or just, you know, or don't go see it. I don't care.
I did read that it's totally different from the Marvel formula, which is exciting because the Marvel formula is getting a little fatigued.
This is the first Marvel movie I'm, like, actually stoked to see. Like, even, like, what's his name, Ragnarok, I was like, oh, it looks funny. Like, you know, it's at least something that I want to go see. No, I haven't seen it either, but I'm like, it's at least something I want to see, as opposed to like where I like with Civil War, I was like, I don't think I'm gonna go see that. Like, I was pretty sure I wasn't gonna go see it.
I'm very stoked for it. I'm about as stoked as I've been for a Marvel movie, excluding Spider-Man movies. But I'm with you. I think that if you don't want to watch it, great. Just
Yeah,
I don't
that's awesome.
understand the outcry to force
Yeah.
people to not like what you don't like. But
Yeah,
I
exactly.
don't know when I'm gonna get to see it. That's the only bad thing is I
Oh,
don't
that
think I
sucks.
can
You're not
go
going
and
opening. You're not going opening day.
No, when tickets went on sale, I was as poor as I've ever been in my life, and now that
Yeah,
I can probably afford a movie ticket, I don't know when.
I have other things to pay for.
That and they're sold out, so we'll see. I'll probably go at some point in the next couple weeks, but
Yeah.
I am
I was
very
thinking of
very
going
excited
opening
about it.
Well, if you're I think Amber doesn't want to go, so I have an extra ticket. So if you happen to be
let me know.
free, yeah, if you happen to be free that night, I'll let you know, and you can.
Is that Friday night or Thursday
Yeah,
night?
it's well, I think it's technically Thursday night, Friday. You know what I mean? Going into Friday, so yeah, Thursday night, like midnight.
So that's tomorrow.
Yeah, so I think that is tomorrow. Yeah, so I mean, if you have,
let me know because I close, but I'll see what I can do.
All right, sounds good. But yeah, guys, that's our time. Either way, if you're gonna go see it, check it out. I'm excited for. We're excited for.